Hello and welcome to another fully live Q&A episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinzie. I am live from Los Angeles and a little jet lagged. I slept 16 hours last night and I feel like I got hit in the head with a rock. But aside from that, I had an excellent C3 conference and a really fun New Year's in Berlin, which, by the way, very dangerous. I having lived in LA, I thought I'd seen a truly violent New Year's Eve, but the one in Berlin was really quite something to remember. So I am happy to be back in the United States and feeling a little bit safer. I saw a German guy fire a gun like down into the feet of a crowd of people, apparently loaded with blanks, but still never seen that in my life. So glad to be back in the United States. And yeah, I had a really, really fun conference. So hello to everybody. We're doing, let's just say we're doing Pacific time to give me a little bit of time to catch up. But yeah, I am happy to be back. I'm happy to see all of you. Hello, James. Hello, everyone else. I'm sure I will tweet or otherwise share a video of that Berlin German New Year. As I said, I've never seen anything like it, but it was really, really fun. So let me go through a little bit of what my European adventure was like, and also a little bit about Chaos Communication Congress, because it surprises me that most hackers have never heard of this, especially hackers in the US. May have heard of DEF CON. They may think that they know all the hacker conferences, but you probably actually just know the hacker conferences in the United States. So I got invited to this in 2019, which was the last time it happened because it's been down for COVID ever since. And I have to say, there were a lot of people wearing masks. I wore a mask the entire time and didn't feel, I just didn't want to get sick. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to smell farts. Everything kind of comes together and makes it so that I'm perfectly willing to wear a mask when I'm doing these very, very intense events that have lots of people. And it was cool. Nobody asked why. Like, people were just like, yeah, maybe you have a health condition, whatever. It's none of my business. At DEF CON, some people were like pissed that I was wearing a mask, and it was like none of their business. So that was kind of cool, because I feel like I probably have a lower chance of having gotten sick at this conference. And however you feel about all that, like, everybody can agree that it sucks to be sick, especially after you've just had a great week. So yeah, this conference was super cool. Let me pull up some of what I can show. And when I say some of what I can show, I will say this conference has incredibly strict filming guidelines. So probably the hardest thing was managing to get anything at all, because you are not allowed to show any faces without permission. You need to ask everybody. So if you're taking a crowd shot, then that can be very, very difficult. I don't necessarily recommend doing that and then posting it somewhere. So, all right. So Chaos Communication Congress, the theme this year was unlocked. So what is this? Like, who goes to this? Well, this is a meeting of hackers, makers, security people, and also hardware hackers, especially. So one thing that I have to say that's a big difference between 37C3 and DEF CON is that it's kind of there's kind of a no sketchy, I don't want to say sketchy. How do I say this without cursing? There's a no rude, bad people policy at 37C3. So if you're somebody who likes to go in and rile people up and do stuff you're not supposed to disrupt the event, it doesn't really matter if you're a security person. Here we go. There's a no brilliant jerks policy, I guess, where if you're making other people feel unsafe, unhappy, you're like ruining other people's con because of the stuff you're doing, then you're not welcome here. And one thing about DEF CON is sometimes people will like try out exploits and do kind of like bad, sketchy things because they're experts at that. And this is a big kind of punching bag for them. That kind of behavior, like running around the conference and deauthenticating stuff and ruining people's workshops or whatever. At DEF CON, you can probably sometimes get away with that because it's just kind of accepted as part of the security culture. But out here, it's not. And I think that's cool because it brings in a lot of artists and other people who make like electronic art or other things that might not feel comfortable at a security conference. There's a big overlap between the hacker and maker community. And sometimes those worlds actually don't mesh perfectly. And this is a conference that is meant to be inviting to both. So there's a lot less like security mess aroundness. And I found that honestly, I was one of like our group of people were some of the main people that were talking about security things, although there were some truly incredible talks. And one of the ones I have to shout out was there was someone who figured out that Polish train manufacturers were actually deliberately sabotaging the trains and software so that if they were brought to a third-party repair center and the GPS coordinate of the train was recorded at one of these 3 specific sites throughout the country, they would disable the train randomly until it was brought in for proper service to one of the approved areas. So this kind of example of a company getting caught red-handed, basically like stealing money through a racket, caused like a huge uproar. Like the train manufacturers were threatening to sue the researchers, and it was truly an interesting thing. So I would say that C3 is all about where culture and technology intersect, and that was it was really cool to see projects of this scale and people doing truly meaningful research from all around the world come together to present their stuff. That being said, I did not go to a single talk because all of them are recorded, and my focus was on meeting as many people here as possible. So I really wanted to get in and get to know all these people that were at the conference who were like incredibly brilliant, smart, cool, interesting people that I would otherwise maybe not get a chance to meet. So that's what I was mostly focused on for this conference. And I did that by doing workshops. How many workshops? Too many workshops. So my team as a total did 7 workshops, and all of us served as helpers for each other's workshops. So that means every single person who came with me, and that was 3 other people aside from myself, so we were a small team of 4 people, either taught or assisted in teaching 7 workshops throughout the conference. And this was like a 4-day conference. So we had days where we did 3 workshops back to back to back. It was wild. And through all of that, I got to meet over 175 people. And those 175 people I got to see all over the conference because they were involved in all these different hacker spaces and all these different places. And it was truly incredible to be able to have 175 friends baked into the conference and keep seeing them everywhere I went. So I have to say, if you're ever looking to meet a bunch of people or really get a feel for what the type of people coming to a conference are, if you have a workshop or something you can contribute, it was really awesome to be able to have all these people come to us effectively, full of curiosity and creativity, and totally willing to discuss like anything. It really was the best of hacker culture, I have to say. So yeah, I really pushed myself a little harder than I think I should have this season, but our team was able to handle it. And I also got to deliver a talk on microcontrollers in education that was well attended by people who are in education. So these are people who were able to try, using microcontrollers before, but maybe ran into the same of the problems that I had and then managed to overcome. So getting to talk other educators through what it's like to use low-cost microcontrollers in something like the cyber camp that I taught in Montana, that's really what I wanted to do. And I felt like I got to accomplish it. So it was awesome. Robert says, hey, this guy looks like Nullbyte. I am Mr. Byte himself. Yes, actually. Thank you. Thank you for noticing. Yeah, what's funny, and this is quite a contrast, is at DEF CON, I cannot walk. I cannot walk anywhere. When I try to go to the bathroom or I try to like leave the table that we're at, I instantly get like recognized, and then people like say hello, and it's cool, but it's a little overwhelming sometimes. So I'll have like a mask on, I'll keep my hat down if I really just need to like pee and come back to get to work real fast. But it's so cool to see so many people who do recognize me. At C3, I forget that I ever had a YouTube channel. Europeans go to other places for security, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe it was just that there were more makers here. But I think I ran into like 4 or 5, maybe 6 people that recognized my voice when I was doing a talk. And of course, I was wearing a mask, so I was playing on hard mode. But in the US, it did not matter. I could like wear a mask, whatever. Like people just recognized me. Like there was no way around it. At C3, like people didn't really recognize me. I felt it was pretty cool. I felt very low key. And then when I took off the mask and did my talk, like a bunch of people came up who had seen my YouTube stuff, and that very much made me happy. I kind of like it just like it's weird because at one conference I'm so used to being recognized that I'm constantly having my friends like walk in front of me or something, because like it's not that I don't want to talk. It's just sometimes I got to get somewhere and I don't want to be rude. And it feels bad when someone comes to me full of enthusiasm. I'm like, I have to pee so bad. Like I want to talk to you, but I just got to go. Yeah, so it was cool to be able to like walk around the whole conference, introduce myself, and have people be like, I don't know, okay, that sounds cool. And then be able to show them a video I had that has like, like however many million views, like, oh, okay, like that's kind of cool. So my power level was not revealed to anybody around me immediately. And that was kind of it's strange to say, that was kind of a new experience too, because again, there weren't as many security people here. This was much more of like a hacker, as in maker, as in creator, as in all these other meanings of the word, rather than just security like we see at DEF CON. So Super, super cool. So I'm going to show you guys the kinds of photos that I can share. Let me pull this back up. Yes, and thank you for noticing that I am null byte. I thought you were null and we were the bytes. Yes, this is actually canon. So I am talking to the company that currently owns the null byte channel after the original owners of the null byte channel went bankrupt. That's not me. That's Wonder How To. I was creating it while I was working at that company when I just kind of got my start in security. So if we do combine, then yes, I will indeed be null again, and you will be the bytes. Okay, so let's show what I can show. So this was a picture of the venue, but you can't see any of the people, unfortunately, because they are forbidden. At some point, I'm going to go through and have a program blur all the faces so that I can start showing you what this looked like. But it was kind of a dark, spooky area with all these beautiful fixtures, and this was just one room. There was 3 floors of this. The entire conference was absolutely huge, and an exterior shot of the building. Here we go. It looked like this. So it was in the middle of Hamburg. You walked in through down here, and then our area was like way deep in the back. But there was also this floor and this floor and this floor. So there was tons of stuff going on. And then this big central area where you could get a kind of walk around and meet people. And there was some art and other cool stuff. Some like kinetic art was hanging from the ceiling where like these mirrors were like slowly rotating around and causing like light to be beams of light to be reflected through mist. And it all looked super cool and artsy. So once you're inside, you can see a bunch of like public art like this. And these are just a bunch of like, recycled material being put together to make jellyfish. And then finally we went over to our area where we started doing workshops. So this was the first workshop I did. It was creating these hex lights. And this workshop took up about 75% of the space in my bag. So what is this? Well, this is a 3D printed hex light where when you put it all together, you're able to control it over Wi-Fi. Okay, and I got to cut that so I don't get people's faces, but you get the idea. So it lights up, it animates, and carrying these 3D printed parts in my backpack took up, like 75% of the space because I had to bring these foam core boards for them to stick this to and cut out to give like a backing to it. And it was a lot to carry. So this was my very first workshop. People really enjoyed it, and I feel like I could have done this like maybe twice or just brought more of them or something because people absolutely wanted to make more of these. And I ended up bringing a bunch home because I ran out of one of the components I needed to make it. So this workshop kind of grew out of the Lightbox workshop I did before. And if you think this is beautiful and you have access to a 3D printer, this is available on Thingiverse. So if you just look up hexagon lamp, I believe is the Thingiverse project, you can 3D print this yourself. And as you can see, I was just using a microcontroller. This is a D1 Mini to power everything. And you can connect to this and you can kind of see the interface right here on the side that lets you control it all over Wi-Fi. So this was super cool. I have to say, I really, really enjoy how many people kind of made this their own. You can make a bunch of different shapes with this. And this was one of my favorite workshops to teach. So really enjoyed this. Absolutely worth doing again. So I also got to work with one of our new creators. This is Aria. Aria taught a couple of our workshops. One of them was on soldering together a Wi-Fi nugget. And then the second one was on CircuitPython and programming hardware. So that was really awesome. We also had our friend Brandon teach our how to solder Meow Mixer video or Meow Mixer workshop. And that is usually taught by Angelina. But Brandon got to step in this time, which was super cool because that was actually his first workshop he ever taught. And we had these Meow Mixer guides set up with these cute cat handouts that his girlfriend made actually. You'll also see the appearance of these Klub Matas. They are everywhere, and they were kind of the staple drink of this conference. And you can see what the finished result was. You get these cute cat-shaped birds where when you dial these knobs up or down, you can change the color like that, actually. So these were a huge hit. I felt like I could have done this class twice as well. But this was an open source project we created that was designed for anybody to be able to quickly make a customizable wearable prototype. Then we went to a burger place, and in Germany, this little tablet kind of pops out of the table, or at least at this restaurant in particular, and then you get a MyFair card in order to tap this and place your order. So I was able to clone this card with a flipper. So this was like a burger place. I was able to clone my burger card with my flipper and then like tap it and have it read it. So technically, I feel like I probably could have like figured out a way to like abuse the fact that if I scanned like enough burger cards, maybe I could have had my meal on someone else, or like clone the burger card and then reuse it, because it didn't seem like they were reflashing them. So yeah, pretty crazy. I'm not totally sure how all that works. I'd have to study it more, but I sense some sort of hacker opportunity with the burger cards for some of these restaurants in Germany, where like you get the card, you scan it on the tablet in order to identify yourself, and then you scan it on the exit in order to pay. Like if I was able to scan someone else's burger card and exit, if their meal was cheaper than mine, then I would theoretically be able to pay for their meal, which would be less, and they would have to pay for mine or something. So yes. Question, is everything I create open source? No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Sometimes I prefer to release things under like a non-commercial clause, where it's open source for individuals or people who are not doing this for a profit, but it is not open source for like corporations and businesses that just want to recreate it, put it into their open source machine. And basically their business model is taking open source projects and scaling them bigger than the original creators can. So there's a number of different businesses that do this. And I have to say, like, they have a point. Like, they're choosing a license where it's perfectly legally allowable to do this. And if I don't want like a major corporation, for example, mass producing the Meow Mixer board, which I had to pay like $7,000 or $8,000 to prototype and get working and everything, then I'll instead have a non-commercial clause where someone walks up to me at a conference or contacts me and says, hey, I want to do this for a workshop. Even if you're using that workshop to raise money for like your cybersecurity club or your STEM club or something, I don't really mind. Like, that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is when like a business model that uses open source projects to turn a profit but doesn't contribute anything to the community, like rolls up on one of my projects and starts mass producing it and selling it for less than I can. So like, people have often asked me like, hey, is there a way I can contribute so you can make more content? And the answer is yes. Like, I've decided not to create a Patreon and instead decided to make these projects that are, I think, contribute some amount of value. And some of them are collaborations between me and other people where I'll just fund it and make sure and get like a dream project I want to make happen done. And some of them are things that I have done myself. And those are the kinds of contributions that I want to give to the community. And I don't necessarily want to be forced out of that space by like a corporation that finds my stuff and then wants to mass produce it and sell it for cheaper than me. Yes, Club Mata, also known as Hacker Browse, but Flora Mata is the one to go. Oh, yes. So at the club, at the conference, Club Mata is absolutely like the default drink, but Flora Mata, which is like a more, like, I would say a little bit sweeter kind of mata that tastes more flowery, is also delicious. And I haven't been able to find it outside the conference. So in Los Angeles, a couple, like a reasonable distance from me, 20 minutes or so, is a specialty beverage place where I can buy these Club Mata for $4 each. And if they were $2 at the conference, so it's quite a markup. But flower mata is not available. So you really, you got to be at the conference in order to get it if you're from the US. So day 2, it poured rain. And when I mean poured rain, it was like, I have never been this wet since I lived in the Pacific Northwest, like Portland. This was not like a little bit of rain. This was enough rain that like everything in my backpack, myself, my clothes, everything was completely soaked. It was horrible. I was damp all day from this. But that's what you get when you're in Germany. Day 3 of the conference, I got to see some of these really cool blinky beginner soldering, surface mount soldering badges, and these were tricky. It was easy to get them turned around, but they were super cute. And these are more art than they are obviously hacking, but I love how they use really creative and artistic PCB design principles, such as having like LEDs that are backwards so that they shine light into the PCB. And then when you use a material that's translucent, that can create effects like this, where you're able to make some really, really beautiful things by having LEDs shining through a translucent PCB. All right, here's a question. How would you recommend Collegiate InfoSec Club be creating opportunities for students to build InfoSec skill sets? Number one is, if you're already in school for cybersecurity, or you're pursuing it, both privately and in school, if you can teach workshops on the things that you are learning. So learn something, great, turn around and teach a workshop about it. And if you can get some outside money for it, typically works workforce development grants, and the part of your school that's dedicated to developing workforce training. Weirdly enough, when I was at Pasadena City College, like the number one giver of money to our cybersecurity and leadership club was the workforce development department. So of course we reached out to cybersecurity, STEM, and other types of grants, but they were a little bit more competitive. I found that nobody was really doing good workshops that were teaching useful skills for the workforce. And frankly, like I was surprised by the number of programs at the college that were willing to give for t-shirts, food, and other stuff. And here's my other piece of advice: provide food. If you can have a couple people that are just doing outreach to whoever needs to be outreach to, like the workforce development people, to get a budget for food for your workshops, people show up, stay longer, and are more interested if you provide food at your workshops. I have never seen I've almost never seen a better budget allocation for a cybersecurity or an InfoSec club than making sure that people are fed when they're there, because often people are taking time off from other very stressful studies or responsibilities to attend. And frankly, they're going to have to get dinner anyway. And if you can combine two things, then you'll find that people are much more likely to attend. It's just a fact. So yeah, provide food, do outreach to make sure you get a budget for your organization. And that can be, and also one very compelling thing is if you go to a school that is a nonprofit, like the actual legal entity of the school is a nonprofit, often contributions to a cybersecurity club or a student club can be written off by the business that does it as a nonprofit tax donation if your school's a nonprofit and willing to work with you to accept donations. So it's worth the conversation to see if you can basically use your school's nonprofit license to be able to make it more attractive for other organizations to donate to you. Because a lot of these organizations may have a certain budget for donations. And if you're able to show, hey, here's a picture of one of our workshops, you can clearly see people are attending because of the food, and be like, we're doing really great workshops. We would love like more of a budget for this, and we're already succeeding. Like we just need some help. That's the kind of organization that a lot of these businesses will donate to, because they're guaranteed to get a photo op out of it, frankly. Like, and that's really something that they want for marketing and other stuff to show that this money is going somewhere good. So if you have someone who's good at taking photos and you get the consent of people in the workshop to take photos, full workshops because of food plus photos of that workshop equal grant funding, especially if you can guarantee those sorts of photos for businesses that are considering donating to you. And also you can, with the assistance of your school, accept their donations like for a nonprofit. That might introduce a little bit of bureaucracy. So there's other ways around it, but those are some tips that I have that made my time in student leadership a lot more profitable for the organization I was working for, because students often are too shy to ask for money. And that's a huge disadvantage for these sorts of workshops. The kind of people with business skills typically go into business degrees. The kind of people who are computer people may not necessarily, or InfoSec people may not necessarily have good business backgrounds. And that's why, it's important not only to attract other people who are interested in leadership to your organization, who might not be a perfect fit for like, the STEM stuff, but if they like organizing workshops, they show up and they do their jobs, like it's worth including them and trying to find a way to make them feel rewarded within your organization. Because you're not looking for excellent programmers in a student organization. You're looking for people who are interested in leadership. So making that clear from a start tends to actually attract the right people. That would be my advice. In northern Germany, they say a bit of humidity in the air. Yeah, everybody seemed completely used to it. It was only emergency for like me and other people who were not used to that kind of downpour. So yeah. Let's see. Have you seen Junct Hack youth clubs in the conference? Do you have something like that in the US? So I did not see as much of a focus on like kids and stuff in most of the US-based conferences. In Germany, there was a kids day. This was, I believe, the second day, which is when we did back-to-back workshops. And upon setting up my workshop for the day and having a bunch of adults show up for it, and that day we actually did have a kids workshop scheduled. It was the next class. A man came up to where I was presenting, and he started shouting at me in German. So I would there's 12 to 20 people like kind of milling about or setting up, and then me in the front of the class with like my stuff on the projector. And this guy just came up and shouted at me for like 2 minutes, without pausing at all, talking about the kinder and like such and such. And he was extremely upset. So like he's just like shouting directly at me, looking directly in my eyes, and I do not speak any German except to say I do not speak German. So on and on and on, and like the people in the class are reacting. They're like, no, get out of here, and kind of reacting. But I still don't know what he's yelling about. And then finally he gets to the end, and I don't respond because like I didn't understand what he said, and he gets really mad. He's like, hello, and like starts like really like demanding a response. I'm like, I'm so sorry, buddy. I don't speak German. Like, is there a problem? And then everybody else in the class starts yelling at him, and then he's like, and he walks away. And later they told me that it was Kids Day, and that because my specific workshop was not for kids, he felt like I was like violating the spirit of Kids Day. And like, I didn't ask for this day. I was just assigned this day. I proposed the workshop, and then it was like scheduled for me. So like, he's kind of yelling at the wrong person and also in the wrong language. So, that was quite an experience. I guess like it's not a trip to Germany unless you get full on yelled at in German for like 2 minutes continuously, like not understanding an entire word. And I seem to remember something like this happening to me the year before. So yes, I am aware of Kids Day because it was the reason why I got yelled at. And no, I have not seen this much of a focus on integrating children into other conferences. I've seen DEF CON become a lot more kid friendly because previously it was kind of seen as like either frowned upon or like a little weird to bring your kid to DEF CON. But the last couple of years, I've seen a lot of people do it, and it's become a lot more like kid friendly. But C3 was on a whole other level. There were areas specifically dedicated to kids, and there was a whole day where someone was passionate enough about it to yell at me for teaching one adult class that day. So yeah, I have not seen that level of passion duplicated in the United States. All right, so some more things that I saw at C3. Let's go through them. Amazing laptops, laptop stickers. So I saw more of just like the really well thought out, excellent like security style layouts, and of course some really chaotic like maker laptops as well. But I have to say, I saw this null one. I was like, I'm taking a picture of this one. Yeah, and I was just very impressed by these. So if you're the person that let me take this picture of your laptop, I believe you are now in our Discord server as Mustache Guy. Then I have to say I truly appreciate the number of cats on this. Was for one very attractive to me, and then this null. Also, MCH is like a Dutch like hacker conference, may contain hackers. So that's another one that I'm looking forward to checking out. That's not in the United States. This was me attempting to defeat the lockpick challenge. I did not have a good time. It was quite hard, and I didn't do it. So after trying this for like 5 to 10 minutes, I was just like, it's not happening. There was also this really cool wall that was under a black light. So people were taking fluorescent tape, and there's a lot of like sticker graffiti at DEF CON. This is a way that they managed to put up something that everybody was allowed to write on, give them tools that were, easy to take down and reset. And a lot of people went crazy with this and ended up making some cool stuff. There was also art everywhere. So this was one of my favorite pieces. But you can just expect to see like Blinky or Light Up or other like beautiful art all over the place at C3. It was just really cool. And this thing is huge. It's like twice as tall as I am. I was going down an escalator when I was taking this video. So you can tell this was a very, very large unicorn. This was our team at C3. I look a little surprised, but this was all of us. There was also Aria, who's not pictured here because it was like herding cats with our team. Everybody was off doing stuff. So imagine Aria here. But this was our team. We had a really good time. And there was a safety notice that said that cat ears were required for safety reasons. So we all made sure to comply with that directive. There's also a lot of stuff just around just like stickers on the wall. This was one of my like favorite ones. I don't know what this means, but I approve of it. And then the number one materials takeaway I had from this conference, and often I'll go to these conferences with the intention of learning something about materials and how I can use everyday materials to create interesting effects. So these were like insulate or like ducting for air like stuff. So this is like very thin, like translucent white plastic tubing that I've seen numerous times at Home Depot. It made the most incredible diffusers, and I have to say it's so pretty. It was so cool. I absolutely love to see stuff like this. So I love art. I absolutely love new ideas for using materials, and this was one of my like must go to conferences for learning how to create these incredible public art effects. So I have to say, if you love art, this is absolutely the conference for you. And it was an experience like that is on par with any that I've been to. So I would say if you have the ability to attend a conference outside the United States, I know it's not easy for everyone. Some of my friends had more of a difficult time than others getting in. But I got to see some of my European friends for whom it's very difficult to make it to United States conferences. So yeah, I have to say this is absolutely worth checking out. There's something for everyone. If you're more of an artist than a hacker or a maker, it's really for everyone. The only thing that's not tolerated is like bad attitudes and people that are looking to make other people feel unsafe or who are being like super disruptive. Let's see. All right, so one question is, we have a security lab we are working on building out attack defense labs to practice with. Our struggle has been getting the expertise for consistent workshops. Yeah, that is really difficult. So one thing that I recommend, and that's kind of taken off for me, is the Wi-Fi deauthor is a tool I have embraced in the various things that I make as being really, really helpful for teaching Wi-Fi attacks. So this is the Wi-Fi nugget on the back. It's got an ESP8266. And I work with like clubs and stuff to like do like basic costs if they want to do workshops and stuff with this board itself. But if you're on a budget, you can buy just this microcontroller from AliExpress for like $1.80. And if you're willing to wait for a month, then that allows you to do some of the Wi-Fi hacking self-defense classes that I teach, which are like outreach classes to the community and to people who might not be that interested in cybersecurity, that really like just like blows their hair back and like gets them being like, oh my God, like this is something I want to learn more about, or maybe this is just something I have to learn more about to feel like I understand how this works. So I did 2 Wi-Fi hacking self-defense classes while I was at the C3 conference. And if you join our Discord server and reach out to me, I'm happy to share these slides so you can use them in your classes, like cut them up or whatever. But if I was like, let's say that I'm a security lab or I'm a school, the club that has a security lab that you're trying to attract people to, right? Wi-Fi self-defense classes and like hacker hunting classes where you can tell if you're being hacked. These were the 2 most, I'll do the German too. These were the 2 most useful like ways of teaching absolute beginners about a little bit about Wi-Fi hacking by using their phone, their smart device, as the actual target of this audit. So the way I've been teaching it is like, hey, like you're a beginner, we're going to show you why your phone is vulnerable to these Wi-Fi attacks, and we're actually going to teach you how to do them so you can make your device like less susceptible to these attacks, and so you can understand what it looks like if someone is hacking you. And we found we got all sorts of different people who are able to follow along. These classes like usually take, I would say like 2 hours is a pretty safe like window to do them. But it really gets people set up with understanding what like Wi-Fi self-defense looks like, what a basic attack looks like, and then you can start seeing if they're interested in more. These classes do super, super well. And not everybody's going to stick around, but for every class, there's going to be, I would say like 30 to 40% of the students there are going to strongly identify with material, and they're going to come up to you afterwards and be like, when is your next event? How do I follow up with you? And you need to have an answer for all these questions. Like me, maintaining the interest of people who react very strongly to your workshops when you have successful workshops is your next challenge. So feel free to use some of my classes. Like if you want to do some of these Wi-Fi self-defense workshops, if you just want to throw in a slide, like giving us attribution, like that's not really all I ask. Like that would make me happy, but you don't have to. I have most of these slides available on my GitHub repository. And then again, if you join our Discord server, which you can find on nugget.dev, nugget.dev, there's a link on there. I had to stop using the old link we were using because someone kept like including it in spam email because I didn't set up sender protection framework on it. So it was reported for spam and taken down for the 3rd time. But nugget.dev is working. So you can just go there and then use the Discord server link in order to get in touch and just ask me. All right. I was ruining Kinder Day. No, I wasn't ruining Kinder Day. I just got scheduled in the beginning of the day for my workshops. I had no role in scheduling or anything else. And everybody else was doing kid stuff. And my very next class I was teaching was actually a beginner/kids class. So I think he was just looking for some acknowledgement, and I delighted in not giving it to him. What, you have no response? Yeah, that was the last thing he shouted at me, I imagine, in German before switching to just hello. Yeah, and I should have probably just showed him my stickers. Let's see. Oh God, I have not seen your show in a while. It's just like how I remember. Hope everything is going well. Yeah, no, I'm super happy after this workshop. Ah, yes, a volumetric horse. It was quite beautiful. Um, any thoughts on the Mandiant Twitter account getting hacked? No, not at the moment, but there have been a lot of security companies that have been experiencing like embarrassing or like other sorts of breaches in the near future. I'll probably go into some of them on the Friday stream. Is making tools from scratch pointless in 2024? No. I see cybersecurity tools that are interesting and unique all the time. And it's usually people applying lesson that they learned in an interesting way to make something easier, better, more useful. I find that a lot of tools merely make a process more convenient, useful, or integrated, and that's fine. Like a lot of iterations and a lot of contributions are just that. So is it worth it to build a new tool from scratch when there's another tool that does the same thing already? No, probably not. You should probably just learn how to use that tool or build on top of it if you're starting absolutely from scratch, and there's nothing truly wrong with it. But if you notice that there's a need that's not being met, then especially if you're making it like for yourself in order to solve a problem that you're having, you may find that other people in the community are having the same problem, and maybe it becomes really useful. So I'll give you an example of the most successful tool that I've ever seen. And this is something I bring up a lot to my friends as to like a model for what truly useful software is. So a friend of ours noticed that there was all sorts of bad teachers at our school that were making it difficult to actually get a good education. And everybody knew after like going to the school for a little bit who those bad teachers were. And they would try to give them like bad ratings on ratemyprofessor.com, but like beginners weren't smart enough to check their schedules, or it took too much time to verify like which teachers were bad and which were good. And as a result, they would have some just totally stinky classes with like the worst professors, and it would make it difficult to achieve a good grade. So I think that my vice president of my leadership and technology class made a add-on application. It was just an extension for I think Firefox and Chrome that would integrate Rate My Professor ratings onto the course schedule. So you could see when a course schedule was proposed, what the Rate My Professor rating was for each one of those teachers. And it went viral. Everybody was using it. If you went to Pasadena City College, you were using this thing. And like it used some fast and dirty ways of like scraping and whatever else to get that information. So it was probably something that could not really be turned into like a real product or something, but it was incredibly useful. And it was a very simple tool that he just used what he learned in school to build and then just release for anybody to use. And it ended up making so many people's lives that much more like informed that their experience at our school was dramatically improved. So if you're building the tools from scratch, it doesn't need to be like something crazy. It can just be something that combines two other tools and makes a certain process more useful. So don't feel like everything's already been built. That tool was made like pretty recently, and it still continues to be useful for people who go to the school. Yes, Happy New Year. I have to say, if you didn't hear it in the beginning, I went to one of the hackers who organized the entire conference. I went to their place in Berlin with some of my friends for New Year's, and it was the craziest New Year's I've seen. They told me it was like a third of what it normally was in terms of intensity, because there was a big police response and a lot of like tension because of protests there. But I saw people firing guns into crowds with blanks, apparently. I saw people firing automatic weapons with blanks into the air. And then I distinctly heard a couple shots that were not blanks, because you could hear the supersonic like crack of the bullet going, which is like it sounds very different from the blanks being fired. So it was like mostly blanks, some not. Hopefully all the not blanks were just into the air, but also the sheer volume of fireworks was, I've seen it before, just not in the intensity and the density there. So like going to like some of the areas of Los Angeles that have a lot of illegal fireworks, like they'll do it for like hours and hours after, but this was like compressed kind of into like a burst of intensity and violence where there was just fires everywhere from burning out firework containers, shots coming from everywhere, like fireworks everywhere. And then when the emergency services and police would come up to ask people to please stop firing so many fireworks, all the other firing positions would triangulate on the police and start firing from like 3 different other locations until the police would just get back in their vans and retreat. I saw fireworks fired directly into apartments. So if your window was open or if you were on your balcony, a firework would bounce off the building and then get trapped in the apartment area and then explode and send like plants and like other stuff from the balcony down onto the street. It was nice. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. But the worst case scenario is you have your hood up and a firework goes into your hood and then explodes and like deafens you or like takes off a chunk of your skull or something. So you really like, I noticed like locals had certain, like some of them had like umbrellas to try to shield themselves, and like everybody had their own strategy. Most people seem to enjoy the hide behind a metal shutter strategy. It was crazy. So yeah, if you haven't been to a New Year's in Berlin, I can definitely recommend it, unless you are like a veteran, a dog, or anyone else that's afraid of very, very loud, repeated explosions and gunfire. All right. Love your work. I want to know if you have any suggestions for getting into reverse engineering. So I don't do reverse engineering myself, but I have a number of friends who do. And Marcus Hutchkins, aka Malware Tech, has done a number of like beginner guides on using like Ghidra or like other free reverse engineering tools to try it for the first time and know what you're seeing. So a guide on just getting interested in the process and like learning how to go through the process of analysis, I think is really the best place to start. Again, this isn't something really I know how to do. I've seen other people do it, and I understand like the high level of it. I've watched a couple of Marcus's guides, and I feel like that's where I honestly got the best education from it. So I would recommend my friend Marcus for getting started on reverse engineering. That's his thing, and he's very good at it. And he's put out some good content around how to get started. And Curtis says, learn Ghidra, I think. Yeah, that's what the NSA wants you to do. But yeah, aside from Ghidra, there's some other tools out there that are also pretty good that Marcus goes through. I don't remember them by name, but I remember Ghidra was one of like 3 different tools. And there were some other ones that were free that you can still use that are great for getting started. I think they use Ghidra to hack the train. Yeah, once people get up to, I hear that like, and this is just remembering a YouTube video that you could go look up and know more accurately than me. But I remember hearing that Ghidra was like very powerful, but not necessarily beginner friendly. And then there were a couple other ones that were like nice for beginners that were also available for free or with like maybe like slightly limited functionality. But yeah, so definitely some stuff out there to check out. Let's see. Hello, I saw Pirate Software stream the game Grey Hat. Do you think games like that are a good way to learn ethical hacking? I actually haven't seen it, so I would only be speculating. Oh yeah, here's the other thing. I live in Montana where like people go shooting sometimes, and like I know a lot about that. So like being like aware of like basic firearm safety, like watching people point guns at each other's feet and like pull the trigger with blanks, like made me wince because I found the blanks the next day and they look quite different from American blanks. So most American blanks are like a cartridge that's longer, it's all brass, and then it's crimped close at the end. And that's it. Like it's just a regular cartridge with gunpowder and such. And as a result, it's quite dangerous to shoot it because the gunpowder has a lot of unexploded particles and other things. And if either anything is lodged in the barrel or even just that overpressured blast, because it's very, very loud. It's like the same load as like a normal shot. There's just no bullet in front of it. So it sounds quite similar, except there's no crack at the end. So American style blanks will absolutely kill someone. From about 4 to 5 feet in, they will either cause severe damage or kill someone. And beyond that, there was we still saw like significant amounts of like penetration from like a sheet of paper of just like particles and other things from a blank. So watching how close people were to like shooting at each other with these blanks in Germany, I was just like, oh my God, like as an American that's like pretty comfortable around this sort of thing, and having seen how serious people are about like gun safety here, watching like people pull out their like sometimes legal, sometimes illegal like weapons and just fire them into crowds was like wild. It was wild to see. I've never seen that in my life, but I'm pretty sure that they're still bad for you to have fired at you, because the German ones, as I said, look a little different. They had a plastic gasket on the inside, and I suspect that they probably had less propellant in there to make them slightly safer, but they still had a lot of muzzle blast and seemed like they would hurt very bad. So if you ever want to see what a blank does to a person, go ahead and point that like right next to a watermelon, and then like maybe put on a poncho, and you'll probably see why it's not good to shoot blanks at people. Did you go deaf? No, I didn't. I'm already partially deaf from back when I lived in Oregon, and I did an entire day of shotgun training without ear protection. So this ear right here, because that's the side that you kind of tilt towards, that ear has about 25% less hearing already. So I think that most of the damage from the explosions just went into that range that was already gone. So I managed to enjoy the New Year's in Germany with about the same amount of hearing damage as I already had. But thank you for asking. I appreciate that. let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I really. Oh, yes. Okay. So some more things to share. I know I've already mentioned that Club Mata is the kind of like hacker fuel at the conference. That's not entirely the complete case. Aside from the Club Mata, which you see here, there's another one, and that is stroopwafels. And these are usually, if there's like a Dutch person on your team, I got to see some of the Dutch people that I hung out with and got to work with on the first C3 conference. So these were people who were actually collaborating, and I was working with them as well on the Bill badge, which was back this year. So this was like an IR badge that allowed you to play like an infrared game, like a tag game at the conference, and theirs was priced like incredibly cheap. That was cool because I like that so much that I made my own version of the Bill badge as a Nugget add-on for the for DEF CON. And they were just like, wow, your badge was so expensive. I'm like, yeah, but like ours like actually had like a full microcontroller running on it. We included like a Nugget, but theirs was literally, I think, like between 5 and 10 euro. So it was cool, like getting to see the original creators of this very successful project. I got to contribute to the first time that I went, and see like how they upgraded and stuff, and also how they have a very different philosophy where like I'm trying to create something that people will continue to use after the conference, and they're just trying to make the lowest cost, like delightful, blinky, collaborative badge that really like literally is not useful after you go back from the conference, because like it only can trigger other badges. It doesn't really have any, like you can't like reprogram it to like attack stuff. So two completely different design philosophies, but the same like attraction, where like people at the conference learn that there's this like cool like laser tag badge they can try out. And then, you know, for one, the point of buying it is when you get home, you can use it to control remote controls and also do all these other like cool and interesting educational activities. Whereas the other one is, you know, it just costs so little that you don't care that it's basically disposable. So this is what powered it all, the stroopwafel. So if you haven't tried the stroopwafel, it is a piece of European hacker culture. And yeah, it was quite something. So I think that's most of what I was talking about this. Oh yes, and again, if you were in my particular class, I expressed solidarity with everybody who yelled at me, or sorry, who yelled at the guy who was yelling at me, so that I didn't have to figure out what was going on until later. I was already stressed out enough. Oh, okay. So this is another thing I wanted to mention. So there were some people who were doing that like pairing spamming attack. I think it's called sour apple or apple juice. And these attacks allow you to take a microcontroller or a flipper and just pop up all these really annoying pairing requests on all these different devices. And some people at the conference were doing it, you know, like I didn't get to see any because I don't use iOS devices for the most part, but a lot of people with iPhones were saying like how annoying it was that they kept seeing it over and over, and it made them unable to use their iPhone because it just kept popping up. So I was expecting this, you know, like I saw that this had just come out, and as soon as it was ported over to the flipper, I was like, all right, we're going to be seeing this one at the conference. But as soon as I got on the plane, you know, it was Christmas Day that I got on the plane, and I saw a pop-up request saying like this device is trying to pair. Do you want to pair with it? So somebody had just unboxed their Boys Quiet Comfort like earbuds, and they had just like powered them on for the very first time, and my phone recognized it before them. So I was just like, okay, well, this is probably just that spamming attack, but I'm just gonna attempt to connect to it, like just to see what happens. So I did, and for some reason, my phone I guess has my name stored in it. My phone's like pairing name is not my first name. It's Gaylord, which I think is great. But instead, it took my first name, Kody, and renamed their headphones Kody's Boys Quiet Comfort headset, and then connected to my phone. So I was able to play one of my favorite playlists, my Enemies to Lovers playlist, for a good half hour. And they just kind of at a certain point accepted it. The headphones didn't turn on. They just like rolled with it. And for a good like 20 to 30 minutes, like I was DJing all my favorite hits, and like it seems like we were in agreement. But then I was like, okay, there's no way that they're actually listening to this. Like, I don't think I've actually got someone who's willing to let me just DJ for them this entire flight. So I was like, maybe it's just in their bag. So I turned it up like as high as I could to see if I could hear it, and instantly they disconnected. So I was like, okay, well, they were listening, and now they don't trust me anymore. And rightfully so, you know, like I guess they probably, you know, are having trust issues at this point now that they've been letting a stranger just, you know, play music for them most of the flight. So at that point, I managed to get them back twice, but like, again, the trust was broken in a relationship at that point, and my anonymous flight partner finally figured out how to repair the devices and get them connected to their own headset at that point. So that was probably honestly one of my favorite parts of the conference. The fact that someone gave up and decided my music was good enough for like I don't know, like the better part of an hour. So yeah, if that was you, then I hope you enjoyed my funk playlist. It was mostly in Portuguese, but like I assume that it was good enough that you were willing to hang with it, and I deeply appreciate that. So that was pretty much it for the C3 conference. And now comes the part where I have to give a very sincere shout out. Varonis is the one that sent me to this conference. They supported me in doing my talk on microcontroller education, which was super, super popular amongst educators. And yeah, like one of my favorite parts about working for Varonis is like they trust me to know what kinds of things matter and how to stay on top of what's happening in the hacker community and then just in technology in general by sending me to these sorts of conferences. So I have to say, like of all the places I've worked, it's super cool that I get sent to some of the most intriguing conferences in the world and that I get to talk to all these people. I get to teach so many workshops that reach so many people, and I get to do these talks that are designed to make it easier for other educators to learn. None of this would have been possible without the help of Varonis, and specifically my manager Nicole at Varonis like was an absolute like amazing person at understanding that I wasn't going with like a full production team and wasn't able to make as much content as I wanted to, plus like all these restrictive film policies, but also being able to attend this and meet people that I'm going to be reaching out to for the rest of the year. I'm going to be bringing on the stream as guests, and frankly, just kind of amaze me with all the cool and interesting stuff they do. So if you want to help out the stream, you can always go to varonis.com/Kody. That's varonis.com/KODY. They check to see how many people are clicking this link. It's a good way to support the stream without paying anything. And it helps send me to these awesome places so I can come back and show all of you all the cool stuff that's happening there. So I have even more. We're going to be making some YouTube videos on the stuff that I found there, including this really cool flower badge. So this flower badge took a bit of negotiating for me to get, but it was absolutely worth it. So if you're Natalie and you're the one that helped me get this badge, like I'm gonna do it justice. We're gonna put it together and we're gonna learn. But this is a MicroPython powered badge that is absolutely a work of art. It is beautiful. It is cool. Some of the demos I saw on it really blew my mind. So yeah, I have to say, like the fact that I got to be there and meet all these incredible people absolutely made my year and gave me a lot to go on for the rest of the year. So thank you to Varonis for that. And thank you to all of you. It's only because so many of these people in our community have spoken out and said that they appreciate what I've been doing and that they like the stream and they want to see more content that we continue to get that. So all of you in the community have been a huge driving factor in everybody realizing that it's a good idea to keep doing this. So thank you all. Another year of producing the stream. It's been several years now, and our community has been growing bigger and bigger. I've been able to attract some incredibly talented people to working with us, which you can look forward to seeing on as guests and also as people that are making more content with us. So yeah, it's been awesome to be able to kind of ride this wave of engagement and get access to some of the smartest people I have ever met in my life. So yes, I will be posting slides in the Discord. I was attempting to wall of flippers is being used to find bad flippers now. Good. That's good. But yeah, I will be posting these slides on my GitHub repository and also pop them into our Discord, which you can find on nugget.dev. The link is there. Let's see. And did I give any talks? Yes, I did. I gave a talk on unlocking microcontroller education for cheap. It's a talk on my case, basically case studies of me either applying for grant funding or getting grant funding to do microcontroller powered classes, and then all the lessons I learned, like what worked, what didn't work, and what I would do, what I'm going to do the next time I do it again. So yeah, that should be very useful for anybody who's considering doing their own workshops. Yeah. All right, so that's going to be all we have for today. I'm looking forward to produce some more content on the C3 conference and tell you all about the awesome stuff I found there. Look forward to some stuff on the flower. And then we're also going to be doing probably a hacker's guide to the C3 conference, which is like a very compressed version of this, but full of videos of the conference. We just got to blur faces because they're very strict about that. But I have to say, I appreciate the kind of assumption that privacy is paramount at this conference. You don't see people taking big wide shots anywhere. You'll see a couple people like snapping pictures of stuff, but generally everybody was really good for asking permission and making sure that everybody involved in those pictures was comfortable with that and making sure that it felt like a safe place for everyone. So, all right, everyone, I will see you all on Friday, where I will still be in Los Angeles talking about the security news of the week, and I will see you then. Goodbye.